Hi everyone, welcome back to For Real. It's good to have you back here for another episode of the News Moto. Today's ride is going to take you a little bit further from the last news desk that we had, and it's along the river still, going up to a place called Sabai Beach, and through some really nice countryside there with some lovely houses, lots of things to see. Hope you enjoy it, so let's get started with the news. So today it's the 19th of May, and they've just published that COVID cases in Cambodia have now just passed the 23,000 mark, so I guess that's fairly significant. We're still seeing quite large numbers of new cases every day, but they seem to be sitting at just below 400. People are starting to call it a downward trend because we have seen numbers below 400 for probably up to a week now, whereas before they were up to 6, 7, 800 per day. So that seems to be heading in the right direction. People are recovering as well. They're giving us daily statistics on the numbers of people who have recovered. What we haven't seen yet is the result of the opening of the borders for travel for people in places like Phnom Penh. So I guess the impact of that travel could be seen in the next week or so. Really hoping that we don't have big surges in numbers as a result of that. You might be aware that Phnom Penh was divided up into different zones in terms of the COVID numbers. So there was yellow, dark yellow and red zones, with the red zones having obviously the most numbers of COVID. But recently they've decided to lift the red zones and those places have been under really harsh lockdown. So people have been stuck in houses or apartments above ground level, and they've been kind of receiving their food via it being tied to a rope and then lifted back up again. So really harsh conditions for those people, and lots of those areas in the red zones are quite poor as well, so it's good to see that those are going to be lifted. But what we're having instead is a household by household red zone, so I hope that doesn't result in those people being kind of persecuted and facing a bit of stigma because they're still in those kinds of zones. But at least for the majority of people, it's better. At the moment, markets are still closed in Phnom Penh, and they're going to have a meeting on Friday to talk about reopening them, but it will only be for the sale of necessary items, so fresh foods, not the clothing sections and that kind of stuff. They're vaccinating at a rate of knots, and it's crossed the 2 million mark, which is awesome. And they've been particularly targeting people in those red zones with the vaccination. It really seems that after the initial difficulties they were having in getting people vaccinated, they seem to have been ironed out, and it seems to be running quite smoothly now. So hopefully when the supplies keep coming in from the different kinds of aid that Cambodia is receiving in terms of vaccinations, it will mean that much larger numbers of the population can access the vaccine really quickly. There was a bit of a ripple in the press about people saying that some people had paid to have vaccines and kind of to jump the queue because they've had money to pay. But the government has come out very strongly to say that that's not the case, and that there has been no incidents where people have paid for vaccinations. And here's an interesting statistic for you. Cambodia received 700,000 foreign arrivals in the first quarter of this year. So with tourist visas not being issued at the moment, you'd have to understand that to mean people coming from the other Asian countries, because they don't need a visa to come into Cambodia, obviously. So that's what they're counting as foreign arrivals, I think. The 700,000 is a 93% drop compared to what it usually is on average. I think it's a bit misleading to talk about those people as international tourists when they're not people that actually have to get visas to come here. So it's not really an indicative number. And a large proportion of those are from China as well. So take what you want from those numbers, but I don't think it's a true reflection of actual numbers of tourists coming into Cambodia. They've been busy building a road between Battambang and Koh Kong, and there was a news report saying that it was almost half complete. So it's quite common in Cambodia to get these percentage updates of progress of things. So for example, when they're talking about the new Siem Reap airport, they'll also say, oh, it's 17% complete or 31% complete. So yeah, this one in particular is 48% complete. And I think it will be quite a picturesque road actually, because it's going to go through mountains and national parks and things. So you'll be able to come up from the coast a little bit further on from Sihanoukville and go up to Battambang, which will be, yeah, quite a nice ride. It's 197 kilometres of road, and they haven't said when they expect the other 52% to be complete. So watch this space. When you think about the numbers of expats that live in Cambodia, I guess it makes sense that from time to time they're going to die here. And there was an article today, and it was titled "Canadian Man Dies on Street 136." So it's actually a little bit misleading. He didn't actually die on the street. He had rented a room on that street, and he died in his room in the guest house. It said he was a 58-year-old man, and the people in the guest house said he usually left the room at 10 a.m. and came back at 12 p.m, left again at 2:30 p.m, and returned at 5 p.m. So it's good to know that they're keeping accurate records of people's comings and goings. The owner told police on the morning of the incident the door of the room was open and he saw the victim lying dead on the bed. They're saying it's a heart attack, and I doubt we'll ever hear any more about that particular story. If you've been to Cambodia, you might know that Poi Phet has a bit of a reputation as being quite a lawless area of the country. So the next story, the headline is "Poi Phet Trio Arrested with Drugs, Bullets and Strange Implement." The police detained 3 suspects for drug trafficking. When they were arrested, police seized around 500 grams of powder, which was thought to be methamphetamine disguised as Chinese tea, a pen, which is clearly marked US Army, but they're not sure what it is, and 2 bullets. And then there's an update to the story. The weapon has since been identified by a reader as a rare Special Ops covert weapon, a King Cobra 22 Magnum M74 US Army. And then there's a further edit that says, "Others aren't so sure." I'll put a link to this story down below so you can have a look at the picture of the weapon that they're talking about and see what you make of it. It just looks like a bit of a green piece of metal with 3 knobs on it to me, but there you go. Next headline, 60 foreign nationals busted in Phnom Penh alcohol and drugs party. Special units of the Phnom Penh Municipal Police last night broke up a drink and drugs-fueled party in Phnom Penh and arrested more than 60 foreign nationals. They were all Chinese and Vietnamese, and police discovered illegal alcohol drinking in direct defiance of the royal government's ban on drinking, as well as narcotics and drugs paraphernalia. In further defiance of the government's rules, the suspects also appeared not to be wearing masks. They took them in for special questioning, but you'd have to wonder how much sense they got out of them if it was that much of a drugs and drink-fueled kind of party. Next one's a bit of a sad story. 11 people died from drinking adulterated rice wine at a funeral. This was in Kandal province and happened back on the 10th of May. At the time, Kandal province was under the alcohol ban, so that may have contributed to the fact that they're drinking this kind of bootleg alcohol, but I don't know. I'd say this kind of stuff is fairly common most of the time in the provinces. It says that authorities went on to collect samples from about 20 stalls in the village and found that they all had excess methanol, and that's what they think has poisoned these people and caused them to die, which is really sad. Okay, in contrast to that story, we've got something a bit more upbeat now. Angkor Milk presents 48,000 milk cartons to victims of COVID-19 outbreak in Cambodia. Of course, the cynic in you might think that they were doing this just for the publicity, but you got to take it on face value, and Angkor Milk is an affiliate of Vinamilk in Cambodia, and they gave the milk to people living in the hotspots of COVID-19 in Phnom Penh earlier this month. I'd say those people are doing it so tough that anything they can get is a really, really welcome thing. The article goes on to give you a bit of a background about the Angkor Milk dairy factory, how much investment it has had, when it first opened, how many employees it has, etc, etc. So, yes, feel free to be cynical about that one if you like, but let's just be happy that some people got some milk for free, people that really needed it. I don't have any sport-related stories to share with you, so we're going to skip straight to the weather. And today's weather says heavy rain and storms in coastal provinces. We're going to get lots of rain from a southwest monsoon that's scheduled to hit Cambodia quite soon. Looks like we're going to get quite a bit of rain for this, and it's expected to go on until the 25th of May, so quite a big weather incident that we're looking at there. Well, that's it for today's wrap up of the news. I hope you enjoyed the ride. It was certainly a really nice ride to be on in person, so I hope it comes across in the video footage. Thank you so much for being here, for watching, and for liking and subscribing if you've done that. If not, please think about doing it because it really helps us. Check out the links that we have down below. As always, we've got links to our own social media and other things that we watch around the place, particularly in Southeast Asia. So there might be some channels there that you haven't watched before and you might enjoy. Don't forget to check out the other people that are vlogging out of Cambodia, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!